Hello, Antonio. My name is Mike. You don't know me, I don't know you, and I don't normally do videos like this at all. But I've seen this video of yours in my feed, and I decided that I was going to react to it and talk to you a little bit. It looks to me, based on your face, that I'm about 10 years your senior, perhaps a little bit less. I don't know. But yeah, your video inspired me to do this. Now this is gonna be completely off the cuff. I mean, I've already watched it, but when I watch it again, I'm gonna pause every now and then and talk to you back. And I have no idea if this will be of any use to anybody, but who knows? It might be.
So I got a confession to make. I do pretty much nothing at work, and somehow no one seems to notice or care. And I think it's slowly destroying me, actually.
Absolutely. Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. In fact, I'm wearing the T-shirt right now. Yes. This is what my numbing office work will do to you when there is no clear goal. But let's continue. The young man here has a lot more things to say.
And I'm filming this from the parking lot in front of my office, where I'm on my lunch break right now. And I kind of feel like an asshole saying this, but what is true of me is true of millions of other white collar workers. I know that it's true for most of my colleagues. I'm doing nothing. We are doing nothing. And I mean, obviously, I have some work, like maybe 2 hours a day or so, and when there are meetings, a little bit more, but most of the time, I indeed do absolutely nothing.
So, one quick break on this. It's not really so much about the fact that some of the work in terms of time is useful. All work is useful to somebody to some extent in some way. I think the problem is a bit different, meaning we've got an issue with not really seeing a point to the work, even though the work could very well be somewhat useful. Um, I think, but that's my interpretation.
Nada, zero. I'm almost invisible at my desk and nobody gives a shit. I'm still getting paid. Paid more than most blue collar workers who do hard, back-breaking, essential, important labor. And my mother is a cleaning lady. She has been for decades now, since the day we fled from Yugoslavia to Austria.
Ah, this is one of the reasons I'm reacting as well. I'm a Yugoslavian refugee myself, not in Austria, but somewhere else. And props to your mum.
And she's destroying her body. And I've told her that she can be prouder of her job than I of mine, but somehow the fact that I got academic degrees appears to be the only thing that matters in the perception of people. By finishing college, so the story goes somehow, I've earned my white collar membership card, and therefore I'm entitled to, I don't know, enjoy my meaninglessness.
Yes, sir. Well, I don't know if this helps, but I'm a college dropout. I was in college myself because this was the only thing you would do when I was young. And it was a gigantic waste of time, and it was absolutely destroying my soul the way your job is destroying yours right now. I was able to escape and then somehow do something that worked for me, which was also in the corporate world, but I definitely enjoyed it, certainly at the time. Yeah, so it's not really just a degree. This is, I think, a bit of an old adage. My grandparents used to say this, my parents used to say this. Basically, a degree is sort of fundamentally important to do anything. I don't think it's got anything to do with literally anything, including getting a white collar job. I've had white collar jobs all my life. I have a white collar job right now. Job isn't the right term, but anyway. So yeah, that's not the problem.
I'm still being perceived as a productive member of this shit show we call society. And
I like this. I like this a lot. I think there's a lot to be found in here. There's no such thing as society. Society doesn't exist. It is a fake word that puts you in a group in which you happen to be because you happen to live and breathe, but that group has nothing to do with you, which I'm sure you'll explain to us actually fairly soon. You are part of a group and you don't want to be, but there's no alternative option. Haha, welcome to society. How lovely.
and Of course, not all white-collar jobs are utterly meaningless and boring, just most of them. Some jobs do actually provide value. My girlfriend, for example, is a doctor, but even doctors spend a huge part of the days with bureaucratic nonsense and way too little time actually treating patients. It's absurd, don't you think?
I sure do. That's why I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Yes. So this is a reality everywhere, including blue collar work. Like lots of blue collar workers, depending on how they do their job, but if they're employed, etc., they need to punch cards. They need to do a ridiculous amount of chores, write invoices, and all of that. The world is very, very heavily bureaucratic. But we'll get to this more, I think, in a moment.
And so, do I feel bad about doing nothing? Well, absolutely, I do. I feel bad about others having to struggle so hard while I earn my money mostly sitting around and occasionally shooting the shit with my colleagues. And
No offense, but I don't particularly think that this is why you feel bad. This is a theoretical stance. We all feel peculiar when we see somebody struggle and we instead have a comparatively easy situation. You will apologize for this several times in your video, but this isn't the point of your video, and I'm glad that actually you yourself mention it later. This is very much paying lip service to empathy, which is fine, but this isn't what you're discussing now. I mean, who am I to give you any instructions? But I wouldn't feel obliged or obligated, rather, to have to appease others preemptively, like I suspect you're doing now. I mean, it might be a misinterpretation, but this isn't the point you're covering. I don't think there's any need for you to worry about it. You do it several times in the video, so I just thought I'd bring it up.
I have many friends who work in the trades or the service industry, and when I tell them how I spend my days at work, mostly reading stuff on the internet, reading news, or browsing Reddit, they don't believe me. All my white-collar friends, on the other hand, absolutely do believe me.
Yeah, because they do the same thing. Oh, pardon me, you're probably going to say that.
Because they experience the same.
There you go.
But morally, in regards to my employer, I don't give a damn. I don't give a shit. And you shouldn't either if you find yourself in the same position.
And this is kind of the crux of the problem. When I told you earlier that I used to work for a corporate, within the corporate world, climbing my own corporate ladder, I very much did care. I cared about the products that were being made, even though they were white collar products, and I cared very much about the well-being of this entity. That may very well have been misguided, but this was the truth, and this made all the difference.
This entire business right in front of me here, where I'm employed at, is pretty much bullshit. Each and every one of us there, particularly the 3 business owners, are doing exclusively bullshit work. And curiously, other businesses buy our bullshit and then repackage it to sell that repackaged bullshit to other bullshit businesses.
Now, I have no way to demonstrate this, but I was absolutely positive you were talking about marketing the first time I watched the video, and you will confirm it soon enough, but I thought it was hilarious, so I thought I'd share the fact that when you say marketing, go, yeah. Even though, like I said, I've already seen the video before, but yes. Repackaging. I really myself don't understand marketing. It's sort of the essence of doing very little, and it seems to provide an enormous amount of value to things. Basically, how you display things to people, as many people as possible, to sell a certain product or series of products or service, etc. It's the essence of middlemanness. It's very peculiar. I really don't understand it.
And so the cycle of what we call the economy continues. It's all a gigantic waste of resources and lives.
This is actually very important. You'll talk about this a little bit more later. Damn it, why am I doing all this foreshadowing? I don't know. I'm reacting completely without filter and without editing. So, what was I going to say? This cycle you call economy, absolutely. This is fundamentally Keynesian. So, what we all do in life, theoretically at least, is like waste our time for something we don't care about, so that we obtain resources which we are then forced to, and sometimes decide to, spend in this eternal cycle. It's the equivalent of the hamster running on the wheel. It's very peculiar. It is possible, at least in some way, to escape. I will be discussing this towards the end of my reaction, because I've done it to some extent. But yeah, the eternal cycle of economy, as you called it, this is really part of the problem. A very, very, very big part of the problem, and you're just a cog in this stupid machine of uselessness. So, a waste of resources and lives, as you very well put.
And interestingly, all this bullshit produces an incredible amount of money and wealth. It's surreal, it's fascinating. And most of that wealth is hoarded by the business owners, of course, while we employees receive some scraps. But
well, that's a strange way of seeing it. I don't necessarily agree. I'm sure the business owners obtain a certain amount of money. I wouldn't actually equate money and wealth. Money is worth absolutely nothing unless you spend it on something, and then the something you have may be too much for you to use. So there is no point at all. It's not wealth. It is, I guess, an accumulation of money. Uncle Scrooge style. I'm not really sure what that does for anybody. Money is only useful when used. So, I don't know. As for us getting the scraps, I guess that's why we're not owners, right? If you're not a business owner, if you don't own something, you don't obtain the fruits of that particular thing. You're employed to do a certain thing for a certain amount of time, and you get some. If you had more money, nothing would change, is what I'm saying. Outside of you potentially considering leaving this because you would feel more comfortable doing that, because the money would give you the liberty to take that type of step. Which I understand your point, but fundamentally there is no way on earth you're getting scraps. You are getting a lot of money. The problem is that money is getting funneled away from you. Now, comparatively to a CEO, you get no money. I'll accept that, but you don't need that to live. You don't even need that to live well. Technology in and of itself and the progress of development generally makes life so incredibly cheap. So you don't need the money. But you do. And we'll find out why in a moment. But you did say something sort of, in my opinion, accidentally. I'm not really sure you grasped the value of what you just said based on how you're speaking about it, which is the owners are making the money. And this is one of the fundamental elements that are missing in your life. You don't own things. You don't own yourself, your time, and so on. This is what you're complaining about, I think. And maybe I'm in misinterpretation, of course, everything I say maybe, but this is what I think so far.
In truth, in absolute truth, none of us should be rewarded anything for this shit we're doing. We're not doing anything meaningful or beneficial for society or people. We don't deserve this.
Okay, so you can't talk about society as a thing that is silly or doesn't really work or whatever in one breath, which is what you did earlier, and now talk about it as something that you owe some kind of work to. Right? You need to pick a lane. You're collectivizing your own self. What you're saying is you're not doing anything useful or meaningful, and it's absolutely gnawing at your soul. Assuming the soul is a thing, you understand my point. It's like you have a finite amount of time on this planet, and you're going like, my time is just going. But you're a bit too young. I'm older than you, so I have a different feeling about all of this. But the point is, you're starting to approach my age, so you're starting to feel that way. Something like, where's my time going? Where's my life going? Yeah, but it's yours. Worry about yours. Don't worry about what we do. There's no we. You are the only thing that matters. You and perhaps your closest loved ones. We'll talk about that more later.
And our jobs shouldn't exist. I work in marketing, by the way.
There you go.
But how can that be, right? Businesses are supposed to be efficient. That's why we are privatizing everything, right? Right? the tech bros told us that all those Kafkaesque dystopias of meaninglessness and inefficiency only appear in government institutions.
Well, that's not entirely true. Quite a lot of sci-fi work has also covered corporate stuff, both in the world of video games, books, and films. Why did I say both when I said three things? I don't know. But it's not necessary. Also, is it really meaningfully possible to tell the difference between government and the corporate world? I'm not really sure, for many reasons. But you're going to cover this more.
Well, at this point, I can only refer you to David Graeber's famous book, Bullshit Jobs. In it, he lays out the entire argument for why bullshit jobs exist, why they prosper, why they pay more, why private businesses are just as inefficient as the bureaucratic monsters that are government institutions, and so on and so forth. It's
okay, so I've already written down the name of this book, and hopefully I'll find time to put it in my schedule to read it. I have not read the book, full disclosure, obviously. So there may be information there that may be really valuable to my own point of view as well, but I cannot operate from that vantage point at this time.
It's really a phenomenal book everyone should read to understand the world better. But what I want to focus on here in this video is the price those of us who do this meaningless shit day in, day out have to pay. And this is not to say that it's worse than destroying your body to provide for your family. It's just a different type of suffering. And all this, of course, is said by me, a privileged white dude in the West. Always keep that
Just
in
a moment.
Time to eat.
Oh, well, I'll be up in a bit. Bye. Well, it was the wife telling me that it's time to go eat, and I told her that I'll eat later, just so I can continue doing this. Isn't that lovely? Sorry,
mind, because I can already sense the other people in this world have it far worse comments. They are correct, of course, but they belong to a different topic altogether.
Well said. They are not correct anyway. It is your job to worry about your own suffering as a first thing. Whether your suffering looks like nothing to somebody who, I don't know, has terminal cancer or is working in a coal mine is entirely irrelevant. That is what we refer to as a red herring or a tu quoque or something like that. These are fallacies. None of this matters. What matters to you is your own situation. You are unhappy. And that's a problem because you have one life. So something needs to be done about that.
Well, anyway, I have ADHD, diagnosed and confirmed.
No, you don't. It doesn't exist. What you do have is you are a man who is intelligent. That's what you have. I'm not going to go down rant lane here, but I can't be bothered to worry about these idiotic fake illnesses that are just not so much justifying. They are attacking equality.
I crave learning new
Oh wow, they're so ill.
things, being creative, experiencing competence, and being productive.
Right.
I'm bored very, very easily.
Right. And do you know why? Because you're clever. Or at least cleverer than a certain amount of, let's call it, processes and people that surround you. And that knows at your mind. Right? And you cannot stand the mind-numbing crap. That's not ADHD, whatever the flip that is. What you have is you value your own life. Let's not acknowledge inventing pathologies to describe qualities. Drives me off the wall.
So how did I end up in a job like this? And why do I stay? Well, there's several reasons for that. First, I made many bad choices in life, and the first significant one was going to university, I guess. I should be doing something with my hands.
Yes. I am exactly the same. I mean, I ended up doing this with my hands a lot. I type a lot, but I completely agree, brother. We are cut from exactly the same cloth. I went to university because that was the formula. Okay? In fact, I want to discuss this a little bit more later. But it's not just university, it's all education. But, like I said, I'll cover that later. But absolutely, I'm exactly the same. I need to make things. This is who I am. And this is evidently who you are.
Actual work. Second reason, I'm not particularly socially intelligent and
There is no such thing. Social doesn't exist, and intelligence is used for your capability of reasoning. Okay? I don't even know what you just said.
dislike boring people.
Yes, I dislike boring people as well. Do you know why? Because boring is an adjective that denotes something bad. I also dislike ugly. I'm ugly myself, but the point is I don't like it. I don't like misshapen. I don't like dull. Dull is, I suppose... Well, let's go with colour. I don't like colourless things, for instance. It's normal. There are some things that are superior to others. Boring is inferior to entertaining. A funny colleague is like, in the kind of job you have, and I used to have, is like some kind of manna from the sky. It's amazing. They absolutely fix your day by being funny, which of course has been legislated out through HR departments and that sort of thing. But, you're not socially unintelligent. Au contraire, my friend.
But boring people are the majority and most people can sense it.
They are not. Boring people are made, they're not born. This is very much part of the hamster wheel.
When you don't like them. Small talk is dreadful to me, and so is navigating this hyper-complex web of inter and intra-reciprocal relationships.
But it didn't used to be complex. If you recall your time in school, which you probably were participated in, you would have the good people that you'd enjoy, the bad people that you wouldn't, and this isn't an objective statement, it's a subjective statement, meaning you could have been a bad guy for somebody else and so on and so forth. This was way simpler. You didn't have the whole machinery of policing that's around you. You live and work at a time in which HR departments exist. I worked for the brief period of the beginning of my professional life without a HR department. You cannot imagine how different that is. You are constantly under surveillance. There's nothing you can do to get out of that outside of getting out of it. That's part of the problem.
And all this makes career progression very difficult. Not that I'd necessarily want it. And adds to that a healthy dose of mental problems, of course. Well,
I don't know what that means, but okay. You got one mental problem that's right there, which is you hate your own life. That's a pretty good mental problem. So.
Third reason, if I do not find my work meaningful, I just will not do it. Or if I must, like in this case, I will do the bare minimum. I could work for days on my Substack, for example, but I can't do useless, boring stuff that has this sole goal of making money for the business owners.
Come on now, let's be honest. You don't do this because it has the sole goal of making money for the business owners. In fact, you'll say it yourself. You do it for yourself because you need the money. So.
Alienation is the term I'm looking for, and this applies to almost every job. Fourth reason, I stay because I have to pay rent and buy food. And
there you go. This is the third reason, Flower. You can't separate them.
And because of the status, I admit it. My girlfriend is a doctor and she's very supportive, but I have to do my part.
What? The status. Okay, so your girlfriend expects you to work, otherwise what? I mean, obviously this is a Pandora's box. Basically, it's fundamentally obvious, right? Women cannot respect a deadbeat, right? So you need to not be a deadbeat. Okay? So let's all go down the path of being absolutely pointless for the rest of our lives. The way you're talking, by the way, very evidently you don't have kids. I might be wrong, but this is my interpretation. You also said girlfriend, not wife, so.
And paying rent and so on.
Probably a good idea nowadays, by the way.
Fifth reason, I've changed jobs far too often already. I did work in restaurants and I was a high school teacher for a while, and that didn't work out either for many reasons. And now I'm almost out of options and my CV is a complete disaster.
Yes, join the club. I've got so many different positions and stuff and holes in my CV where I decided to do things as an entrepreneur not particularly successfully, that it's quite funny to try and send your CV around. It's like, oh, so what's this gap between this and that? Or how did you transition from the job to the other? Well, apparently I have ADHD, mate. I get bored. Or I want to progress in my skill set and learn new things, and I'm quite good at that. Yeah, we're the same.
Sixth reason, comfort. Seventh reason, there are many more.
Easy. Okay. You cannot say sixth reason, comfort, and move on. That is kind of the crux of the issue here. Comfort is the problem. Almost all of this weird, let's say, last decade, or maybe last 2 decades even, I'm not sure, that I have lived in, comfort has been the driving force of almost all business. Making things a little bit easier, a little bit smoother, a little bit easier, a little bit smoother, etc., etc., etc. And that makes you inherently unwilling to take challenges on. You need to be a very special person with a heck of a lot of drive to fight against that. And go like, everybody and everything is telling me go path A, and I go, no, I'm gonna go path B because I chose to, and it's my choice, wrong or right that it may be. So yeah, you can't just say comfort and move on. Comfort is one of the fundamental elements. It's one of the most important reasons that it's keeping you doing what you're doing right now. Example, should you, say, for example, quit this job and try to launch a carpenter business of your own? So you're gonna spend a certain amount learning carpentry, maybe while still working, and then you're gonna start making some furniture and trying to figure out if you can find a client, maybe through friends, and then expand and da. It's a very physical job, right? It's a physical craft. It's fantastic, but it's gonna have a really tough time being commercially successful at the moment because of IKEA and all sorts of other competitors that you would have. So it'd be absolute hell to try and do that, but you could want to do that. Right, now let's say you start doing that. Your girlfriend's going to leave you, all sorts of stuff, right? Because of that status thing and the lack of income. It's the comfort that is murdering your ability to figure out that money is actually irrelevant and living is a little bit more important than that.
Reasons such as bore out, and I already asked for more tasks and responsibilities, but they ended up being even more boring than the ones I had, and so I don't ask anymore. And the fascinating...
You've become what I like to refer to as a lifer. But you're not a happy one, are you?
thing, there are millions upon millions of people just like me, no matter if you've got ADHD or not, and we are all pretending...
Right, isn't it great that apparently you have an illness that doesn't do anything?
Like we do actual work. And I guess it's even true in some ways, because all this does take a huge mental and psychological toll. Humans were not made for office jobs, you know. We were meant to provide value to our families and community members. And nowadays, us white-collar workers are alienated to a degree unprecedented in history.
I have no idea what you're saying here, if I'm honest. It's a very esoteric way of approaching anything. Humans were made for what? Humans were made for anything. You came out of your mother, your dad played a small part in that, and then you were made. And then what? There's no grand design, my friend. Like, you do whatever you want with your life. You're like Tyler Durden in Fight Club. Or actually the other guy, I don't even remember his name. The guy played by Edward Norton, the other personality. You are the one holding the gun. You are the one making the decisions. I suppose what you could say is that humans were made to be individuals. Yeah, exactly. And some individuals work in offices. I work in my office right now. I'm talking to you through my office. So, What are you on about?
No one understands what the other does and why. I can't even explain properly what my fucking job is. It's processes upon processes upon processes that are needed for other processes to function, all built on delusions not bound in any material reality. It's money out of thin air. It's nothing. It's shit. And every day I lose part of myself, my personality, my potential, my dreams, all forever lost.
Correct. Because the one currency that will never, ever, for any reason, come back is time. You are trading your time for survival, as you call it, and status, I think, and comfort. Is it worth it? You decide.
And the consequences of all this are extreme mental fatigue, depression, drug abuse, stupidity. Stupidity is a big point. I mean, I feel my brain shrinking with every day I spend here. And I'm not joking, I can actually feel it, man.
Yes, I actually believe you. I believe you in a very practical way because I can relate to it. At the age of 26, so that would have been 14 years ago, I was doing a job that had nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. And one of the things that I started doing is I started programming tools. So obviously I started very clumsily, like anybody who is uneducated would. And I progressed and progressed and progressed. And with every year that passes, every time I write code of any sort, I feel is the wrong term, but I notice, let's say, that my code is improving. It's more solid, it's more sophisticated, it's more legible, it's better organized, it's much more resilient to change over time, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to belabor you on the details, but I definitely feel my brain growing. Obviously, I assume it's not growing physically, but that's the feeling that one gets, right? Whereas when you are, because I've been there as well, when you are in a position in which you feel like everything is becoming part of some sort of routine recipe where repetition is the only thing you're doing, that's where you start feeling less and less like your XP bar is progressing, so to speak. And that's very poor for one's happiness. I'm not using terminology like mental health. This is the kind of stupid crap that modern people have invented. I have a bit of an old soul. I don't do this.
And it also causes disillusionment, anxiety, alienation, anger, and so on. And it is my...
Yeah, but none of this is wrong. This is so funny. You're talking about these symptoms, these reactions, as you refer to them, as bad. These are... What are you talking about? These are the things that led you to make this video right now. Now, I'm not saying you should embrace your anger and go, smash a coconut upon your boss's head. That's not what I'm saying at all. But this is it's like pain. Like when you get hurt and you got physical pain, it's your body telling you this ain't right. Yeah, well, this is your head telling you this ain't right. Right? It causes you this. It doesn't cause you this. This is the cause of your choices. These symptoms are the results of your choices. It's got nothing to do, this isn't bad. None of this is wrong. Okay? So don't embrace the anger or whatever it is, depression, right? But listen to it. These are there to tell you, ain't good. Okay? And my last job, let's call it, that I had, I was making quite a lot of money per month, comfortably. Because while being in Europe, I was working for a Californian firm. So it was very good. And because of life circumstances and other reasons, I decided to quit. I regret it now to some extent because, income is nice and everything. Regret is a strong word, but I'm just sort of essentially, setting the stage here a little bit. But, but I made the choice that I made, and lots of positive things followed from me leaving that particular position as well. I don't make my own decisions, and I don't have all of that mental aggravation. These symptoms that you're describing, I quash them. by making the decision of moving somewhere else or doing something different. So
My conviction that useless work is one of the main issues in developed societies, which is why I talk about it so often.
okay, so I don't want to go down rabbit holes here. Developed societies, all of that sort of stuff. I've already discussed that. But yes, you are completely correct, except you are framing it too narrowly. It's not a matter of pointless work. It is the fact that you spend about a third or more of your time on work. So definitionally, work should be meaningful. If your work is not meaningful, then you feel like a third of your time is wasted. Then there's the sleep, which is another third of your time, effectively speaking, wasted. Then you have all of the little commutes and all of the bureaucratic rubbish like tax returns and that sort of thing that you need to do, keeping your receipts, claiming expenses. It's beautiful. So all of that sort of stuff. So it feels like your life is absolutely nothing. There's nothing in it. It's all wasteful. And you would be correct. That's why you have anger.
All these
It's not just work, though. It's everything.
gains in productivity and automation led to a situation where we had to invent increasingly ridiculous jobs to avoid having to change anything about the current socioeconomic system.
This is a very strange key of reading of the situation. Intuition tells me you're not right in your read. A lot of people that I've met seem to think the same thing as you do, but I don't. I think advancements in automation are made by people because people want to work less, generally speaking, and less stupid. I mean, I as a tool developer have the same driving force behind me. But there's lots of other keys of reading as to why work has become less and less physical, less and less tangible. It's too complicated to discuss. But I really don't think there's anybody who's artificially keeping jobs going for the virtue of this or that or the other thing. These jobs are useful to somebody in some way. And I'm not privy to that information. I suspect neither are you. Just by virtue of us having a limited mind and limited knowledge. But, yeah.
And people know this, people feel this, they're not stupid, but
you gotta make up your mind. Either lots of people are stupid or they're not. They're not. The vast majority of people are not. To give you credit, you yourself said so. There are millions of people who are not stupid. I need to stop interrupting you every 5 seconds. I'm sorry.
Or rarely do they openly talk about it. I mean, so many problems root back to this, so many society-wide issues, particularly involving younger generations.
Okay, now we're talking. I want to talk about this when the video ends much more than you do.
Who see through all this bullshit much more clearly than boomers ever did.
Okay, easy. This thing that it's now trendy to attack boomers is hilarious. Okay, so let's be clear, eh? Boomers are people that had an amazing life compared to us. Okay, they owned stuff. They could own stuff. They could go after buying things that they would then keep. They could own cool things. They could aspire to things. They could aspire to happiness. They decided not to, many of them, so fair enough. I understand some degree of resentment. But, part of me, envy is the wrong word, but sees boomers and goes like, ooh, hello, you had really cool stuff. The cars that the boomers have, man, the music. Oh, that was a time. It was a hell of a time. I don't understand this thing about poo-pooing on the past, really silly. Look in the mirror. We are way worse than they were. And the next generation, oh boy. That's looking pretty special. So...
And think about it. What potential wasted all that could have been. Who could those people have become, man? What would they have achieved, freed from all those constraints and shackles? We will never know, and that is our collective loss.
Yeah, I guess. We will never know. You can't really lose something you don't know. I mean, I guess you can. I don't know. It's... The reason why I'm interrupting so frequently in this particular area is because you are speaking in cliches now, a little bit. And you're speaking in cliches as somebody who has no experience. Or at least I think so. I do apologize if you happen to have 4 kids, right? I have 5 of my own. And then I made a lot of decisions with them. And I'll discuss them when the video ends.
No one wants to work anymore. You hear that so often, and it's such a shit statement uttered by people so indoctrinated and ignorant, it's really laughable. The truth is, no one wants to work for an abstract, unseeable, cruel construct. We want our work to have meaning and significance. We want to see the results. We want to feel them, in a way, be them. Our heart and soul to the benefit of the community we readily give, but not to a monster, a faceless monster.
Yes, I really do wish that you use the first person singular, not the first person plural, because that's what you're saying. There are people out there that don't want to work, period. Like people who are slothful, they exist. But you and I, we want to work. We don't want a job, we want to work. These two words should not be confused. They're very different.
And so it's either fading away in the physical, blue-collar jobs, or the mental sense, white-collar jobs. And both in the service of the great nothing.
Yes, precisely right. It's aimless. Everything is aimless. That is a problem. It's got nothing to do with what color the color is.
This is no choice, really. And good thing there are drugs.
Is it? Now, I have a suspicion you said this in jest. And that's pretty good. If you did, I guess, I don't know, it's a terrible joke if it is said in jest, because it sounds funny. It is incredibly repetitive. Every other person has said this joke before. You're doing the equivalent of thank goodness it's Friday. Or it's Monday morning, I can't have a meeting without having a coffee. These are called office cliches. Please spare us. There's nothing positive from drugs. In any situation. I don't really care who disagrees with me, they can carry on. But the one thing that's very, very valuable inside your head is your head. And what drugs or alcohol or similar substances do is they numb it or change it in such a way that it is not in control of the reality that you're capable of perceiving with your 5 senses. Not funny at best. Absolutely awful advice at worst. Don't. I mean, I'm sorry to be patronizing, but it did irritate me. And it's the first time you irritate me. Not that you care. Just, I'm doing my first ever reaction ever, so this is what happens.
And the obvious elephant in the room here is, of course, AI, artificial intelligence. And it's interesting to me how many people keep doubting that AI can replace them when it so obviously can and will in a matter of a few years.
The only reason why AI can replace a human being is because that human being has nothing to give. What does this replacement look like? Everybody being permanently unemployed? I can't even imagine this concept happening. But, I mean, I don't know, it will. And it doesn't matter to me at all. Because I use AI like a tool for the things that I need. I use AI like a wrench. Or a screwdriver. It's a tool. Some people's meaningless jobs like the one that you're describing are going to be replaced by AI. Well, thank goodness. Right? Way cheaper. It's meaningless anyway. And machines, last I checked, don't really care about meaning. We do though. So, I'm not saying I embrace it or hooray for AI. I think the research in this is very odd. It's sort of like the species attempted to make itself extinct on purpose by removing all meaning of any sort. I mean, there's still a sliver of meaning in you going to work, doing something pointless and coming back with a paycheck. This is literally what you described earlier, right? So yeah, many jobs will be replaced by AI fairly soon. So do something. Do whatever you want for yourself. AI is irrelevant. AI is like TV, don't turn it on. and you're done.
It's a bubble in the same way that internet was a bubble.
Yeah, but you can live without the internet. I know hundreds of people that do. Is hundreds an exaggeration? It might be. I know several. Let me tone it down. I know several people who do live without the internet. That's a strong statement because, of course, they use WhatsApp and communication devices and da-da-da-da-da-da. But they generally live outside of all of this. In fact, my 84-year-old neighbor doesn't even know that the internet is a thing.
And to categorically deny what harm, and maybe less likely good, it can do is, to me, ridiculous. History doesn't stop because people want it to. And the question of what we will do when even the already ridiculous bullshit jobs are gone, and how we will organize society then, is a topic for another day, I guess.
Yes, thank God, yes. Because it's a topic that you or I or anybody else who's an individual cannot tackle. You're not intelligent enough. Neither am I. So don't worry about these macro issues. They're totally irrelevant.
And such required deeper thoughts elude me here in the office.
Here and forever.
And soon it will be 5 p.m. and then I can go. A good day's work it was then. And we will do it again tomorrow. And I'll see you again. Cheers.
Okay, so the video is over. How much? Oh boy, this is 45 minutes. I didn't expect that to be this long. Well, I don't think this will be of any use to anybody, but it's my first attempt, so let's see what happens. Right. The one thing that I want to discuss briefly is a few solutions to the problems raised. So I've already responded to several of the points this young fellow has made. But what can actually be done in order to go a different direction? So for anybody who's my age or up, the answer is nothing. Good luck to you. For anybody who is younger, however, you can do something by constructing a short-term plan and a long-term plan. And this plan doesn't need to be written down Peterson style, none of that matters. What does matter is that you need to start valuing your own self and your own time. You only get one life. So you need to home in on what is actually important. And that's the short-term plan. So have the confidence of saying, I want this. Have the confidence of somebody who is even mildly successful of saying, yes, I bought myself this Golf GTI because I wanted it. And I worked hard for it and I don't deserve it. I bought it for myself. This level of sort of basic confidence of your own decisions. So if you get other individuals outside to judge you about what it is that you do, you don't care because other people's judgment is entirely irrelevant in your life and always will be. So that's one step. And that includes any type of activity you want to do with yourself as a young man. There will be the kind of thing I would suggest somebody who's 15, 16, 17, 20, etc. starts doing early. You know, oh, but we need to go to school because school is what we all need and da 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 da. There's no we all. All of this collectivized rubbish is silly. It's about what you want. It's the only thing that matters. Now, of course, this does not condone crime. What you want doesn't come at the physical expense of others. Now, I'm just saying it because there will be some pedantic fool in commenting about this sort of thing, right? But yeah, so that's point number one. Point number two, which does apply to Antonio, I believe is your name, to the individual I'm reacting to, is creating a future. Now, that future is very, very, very long term. You need to think about the future and you need to want to build one. It's sort of the equivalent to that cliche or adage about planting a tree, right? The act of planting a tree makes you a man because you're going to put something small somewhere, and then by even relatively mild nurturing, this thing will grow and will blossom into something much more valuable, but a long time away into the future, right? So, for us men, the simple thing to do is, of course, families. Now, this is a complicated topic nowadays. Between connecting with a female and building a family structure, not divorcing, which is so incredibly common nowadays because contracts are worth nothing. So it's a very, very long discussion. With that said, try to keep it as brief as possible. The goal is to make a family. Now, once the family is made or is started, an important foundational goal of that family is to care for the children directly, not indirectly. All school must be rejected completely. Oh, Mike, are you saying people should be illiterate? Hell no. Hell no. No. You take it on your own shoulders to do so. School has two purposes in existence. Make you as conforming as possible to everybody else, hence why you are the way you are right now, Antonio, and myself as well for a large part of my life. And two, family alienation. These are the two things that school does. The fact that you learn about the pyramids is entirely irrelevant to everybody. The fact that you learn how to do basic arithmetic, you can do that with YouTube. You can do that with a piece of paper. You do not need anyone or anything to teach you that. Oh, but yeah, well, where are we going to get the surgeons? Separate discussion. If you want to be a surgeon, you'll discover that slightly later in life. You still do not need to send your child to preschool at the age of 2. Your child is your own, right? It's the tree that you've planted. Okay, well then care for it. Don't neglect that. Now, none of this matters to you, Antonio, specifically, because, like I said, my interpretation of your existence is you do not have children at the moment. But that, my friend, is fundamentally the problem. Or at least the problem of the long-term plan. So the short-term plan is kind of happening with you. You have accepted it. You have accepted the failure and you're sort of trudging through it. But you at least have the basic anger, depression, whatever it is, that's giving you the feedback that's telling you, hey, I need to care about my time. I only have one life. What the heck am I doing here? Good, good. Follow that. That's the first step. The second step, the second thing is, your wife is a doctor. She's caring for random people that don't matter. And you are, sorry, this is a bit harsh the way I said it, but, I'm going somewhere, so pass me it. And you are doing a pointless job that serves no purpose. Both of you are making income. Both of you apparently are either draining that income or you must be investing it in something. I do not know. Now, suppose you decide to become parents. Okay? Suppose she decides to quit. Suppose you become the only breadwinner of the house. All of a sudden, your boring, painful, useless job and the promotions you right now don't want may become attractive. A, her income stops. B, you want her income, where you want all of her time to be dedicated to raising these people, which are your future. Okay? You do something like this, even the pointless office job that the boomers had, just like you do, suddenly becomes valuable. Because it's not comfortable anymore as well. Now you have to fight your way through days. So, this discussion is much deeper with a lot more details and so on and so forth. But I am a father of 5 with the same wife all my life. I don't see that changing. We've been married about 20 years now. I work on the things I want to work. I own everything. This building you see here, I own outright. There's vehicles back there that I own outright. I don't pay rent to anyone or anything. In fact, there's some people paying rent to me for some stuff. And I'm barely older than yourself. I've worked like an absolute lunatic within the various fields that I've worked in, doing loads of overtime, getting loads of promotions, making quite a lot of money, And one of the ways in which you could escape the thing that you dislike so much is by reinvigorating your drive, even within your meaningless job, within your meaningless field, to obtain more of these golden nuggets so you can spend them on actually improving your life long term, on planting the tree and growing the tree. And you will find no more meaning in anything ever in life than raising children and raising them well and taking responsibility for raising them. So if you do have a child, no school for any reason is the absolute fundamental thing. If you live in a country that doesn't allow it, move. Done that several times. We'll do it again if necessary. So, I think your video was very good. I appreciated watching it, so much so that I did something I've never done before. And I wish you all the best. You're too young to have your life wasted. So, best of luck to you. Or best of effort to you.